Well, I think it's a football first. For the first time, a fan base is calling for the set piece coach to be under scrutiny and not the manager. Welcome to Where Canaries Walk. This week, we have got 4 very angry Canaries to talk about whether it's right for us to keep calling this a transition season. We're also talking about Angus Gunn and his contract decisions and is that affecting his performances, and just who have been the best fans at Carrow Road this year. We're delighted to have Matty, Billy and Jacob back, but we're even more delighted to have the Norwich City Fan of the Year of 2 seasons ago with us, who travels ridiculously stupid distances to watch these Canaries play, in Killian O'Grady. Welcome, Killian. How are you?
Good, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
All right. I'm sorry we're not talking to you under more pleasant circumstances, but we are talking, of course, about the QPR result. And I did say last week, Matty and Billy and Jacob, that QPR haven't won at home all season. So it was the most Norwich thing ever for you to rock up and let them have their first win, wasn't it?
So it's your fault. Is that what we can go
That's
on?
Right. Okay.
It's classic along come Norwich, isn't it, gentlemen? You can all kind of I think you can all probably remember times where that's been the case, and that we played a team and they haven't won, and then along come Norwich, and there we are.
Yeah. Horrible concourse QPR as well, isn't it? When you've lost 3-0 because it's very tightly packed. Matty, did I see you tweeting that there were some scuffles?
Yeah, at half time, you know what people are like. They've had a bit too much beer, and it's just really tight there, isn't it? I said last year I don't know if I'd rush back, and here I am, second season on the bounce. But yeah, it's not a great concourse.
Okay, let's have a look at some tweets then as to what we're talking about this week. Then, so Dave Phillips says, "I've seen us play a lot worse, but not in the JHT era. This lack of clean sheets and poor away performance is concerning. We have played too far open under JHT so far. Surely he's working on correcting that." And Billy, Miles says, "We look a League 2 side when we're not at Carrow Road." If we have a look at these away results then, 3-0 against QPR, 2-2 at the Hawthorns, lost at the Hillsborough, lost at Cardiff, 2-2 at Preston, 1-1 at Stoke City. And then, of course, we've got away games at Portsmouth, Sunderland and Leeds and Sheffield United to come in the next 5. So, what is it about not playing in Norwich that this team needs to sort out?
I just think we look just really panicky, and we like a hot potato. I just want them to just slow it down a little bit more sometimes, because they get it, and it's like they don't know who to go to, and like really fast decisions, and then they'll just go out for a throw in or just give them straight to the opposition.
Jacob, can you put your finger on why Norwich just go to pieces away from home?
I don't actually know. If we look at the David Wagner time, it's been like that as well. Our away form has been tragic for the last 2 seasons, and I don't think the squad has gotten to the point where they can solidify and start stopping these mistakes. I think Duffy's a bit in and out. He's sometimes good, sometimes he isn't, and certainly yesterday was not his game. But I think we do need to step up defensively and sort it out.
Okay, Killian, you travelled a significant amount of miles as you do each game to watch that. Does it hurt even more when you see players not closing down players, misjudging passes, goalkeepers making errors?
It's probably, I think, the worst performance I've seen this season from an away perspective. I don't think we've been good away, full stop. I think even with Coventry and Derby, I think we were lucky. The luck went our way. So I think we've been performing really badly away, which is really strange because it's the same teams, the same players. They're playing on a pitch. I know it's not Carrow Road. It was interesting. I saw somebody, I think it was one of the players from QPR, talking about the quality of the pitch being poor, and they were sort of boasting about this. Now, thankfully, nobody from Norwich made an excuse about the quality of the pitch, but I thought the passing was horrendous yesterday.
Yeah. I don't really want to get into this next point, but I've struggled with it, Matty, that so many people are blaming the set-piece coach that since he's come in this season, that your defending of set pieces in particular has been poor, for lack of a better word. James says, when the head coach underperforms, it's normal for them to be under pressure and sacked, but when the set-piece coach severely underperforms, it's unthinkable to sack them. Shouldn't be like that. Nick Stanley should be under so much pressure right now. Is James right?
It's a peculiar one. What stood out to me before or when we appointed him, there was a similar sort of sentiment from the fans of the club who we'd appointed him from as there was with, and I'm going to say it again, Mark, I know it's week after week, but George Long. When we got George Long, Millwall fans were like, thanks very much, all the best, good luck. And the Brighton fans were like, thanks for taking him off our hands. And we haven't looked brilliant since he's come in. So I think there's fair pressure on him. I saw news coming out of Man United that they've parted ways with I think it's Ashworth from Newcastle, who's only lasted 5 months there, and that's if it's not right, then there's no reason why. I agree with the tweet. I agree that people we slag players off and we slag managers off for the selections and the changes that they make, and we praise them when they rightly deserve praise. But there's been more negative connotations of our set pieces this year, I think, of late than there has positive.
Is football gone a bit wrong here, though, Billy? Let's honestly, we're talking here about a set piece coach. I mean, you've played the game. I've played, at school level, no higher than that. And I remember my coach just saying, come on, just whip the ball in, put a good ball in and get your head on it. Surely it's not more complicated than that, is it?
I think it's a lot down to the players as well, because I think it was the first goal, Cenac had 2 attempts to clear the ball, and he just gifted it straight back to them. And that's not down the set piece coach stat, unfortunately.
Okay. I will also bring up another slight criticism, Jacob, of Hoff Thorup. Cam says, whilst the referee has been woeful, Thorup got it all wrong today. Fisher at left back is an absolute disaster class and has arrested Sainz. Also sacked that fraud of a set piece coach. And there's quite a lot of these tweets, so I'm not going to put them all on the screen. But what about this Fisher at left back discussion, please, Jacob?
So it's another change to the defensive line. We've had Doyle at left back, I think. We've had Fisher, Kuseni. So yeah, I think it is another one where Hoff Thorup has changed the defence and it's not working. So stick to the original plan, what worked at home, obviously. But yeah, I don't think it's what worked.
Okay. Killian, you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Personally, I think it's been a downgrade from Janulis and McCallum this year. I don't think we've improved on our left backs. Doyle is a good player, but I don't think he's a good left back. And Fisher is definitely out of position. I happened to bump into Fisher's dad at the West Brom game, and he wasn't terribly happy that he was being put in that position and playing left back. But it was obviously just to make room for Stacey on the right. And I think one of Thorup's problems now is he's got a real struggle of who he leaves out and who he plays, because now that he's got all the players back from injury, or most of them, I think he's trying to fit certain people in, and maybe they're not the natural fit as a team, even though individually they could be great players.
Okay. Cheers all of you for that. Want to talk about Angus Gunn before we move on, if that's okay. Matty, it's landed on you here for another goalkeeping discussion. But all seriousness, when Gunn came back, we were talking about Long and that run of games you had, the whole game, etc., where it didn't quite go to plan. But since Gunn's come back, does he look his normal solid self? We had this tweet here from Jay, who I know is huge on Twitter. Says, "Don't get me wrong, I rate Gunn as a keeper, but he's hardly been pulling up trees recently. You'd expect someone to be performing better if they're playing for a new contract." Has he got a point?
I think it's probably fair enough. I'm really conflicted. I like him. Obviously, there's a connection with his dad. There's a connection with him. He's an Norfolk boy. He's a fan. And I kind of think we might not get a better number one for where we are as a club at the moment. At the same time, I don't think he's the best keeper in the league. But we have to be careful what we wish for. So if I'm Norwich, I'm thinking just give him the money that he wants and give him another 2-year contract and see how it plays out. That said, that third goal yesterday he's at fault for. And if George Long had conceded that goal, then it would be hell on social media. So as I said earlier, we'll criticise players and managers and set piece coaches, it seems, and we'll give them praise when it's right to be given. But the criticism of Gunn, certainly yesterday for one of the goals, is in my opinion is totally fair. And I know he's only human, and we all make mistakes at work. But to quote Roy Keane, that's his job, isn't it? So he should have saved it.
Billy, what's your view on this? Is it too harsh and too quick to be calling Gunn out for some of his performances? I mean, keepers make mistakes. That's fine. It's not the goal yesterday, but I think it's all round performances since he's been back. People are saying haven't been where they expected them to be.
I think because we don't keep clean sheets, you subconsciously enter the game and you're worrying about how many you're going to concede if subconsciously in your mind. So I think that your mind is that's on your mind, so that plays a part.
Okay. Our final point before we move on is this point about being a transition season. There's been lots of comments saying, look, it's a transition season, leave it alone, don't get angry about it, it's fine. Others are saying, hold on a second. I mean, if we look at the wage bill for Norwich, which we'll look at in a minute, it's phenomenally high compared to others. Harry says, don't let anyone tell you that you can't be annoyed about this season because it's a transition season. If you haven't liked this season, you're not a terrible fan or wrong. As a club, we have standards, and the coach has said we should expect the top 6. We are allowed to demand more. Jacob, as a Norwich fan through and through, where do you stand on this debate?
I'd say it is a transition season. If you look at what happened with Daniel Farker, the first season wasn't good, but then the second season we went straight up. So you have to look at it that way. And then again, Hoftorp has brought in a young squad, a new style of transfers in the summer window, which will happen in January window as well. So we have to look at it that way. So yeah, transition season, definitely.
Killian, Norwich wage bill is 17, nearly 18 million. It's the 5th highest in the league. So you would expect for that amount of money going out into players' pockets that this isn't a transition season and that you should be up there. What's your view on it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it should be. I think that lacks ambition to be looking at that and potentially using that as an excuse. I do think if you look on paper, we've got one of the strongest squads in the league, and it's reflected in, even if you look at the team that was picked yesterday, I mean, that should have beaten most teams in the league, and it didn't just show up. And I think we need to have the aspiration to be ideally automatic promotion, but certainly top 6. And if we don't have that ambition, we shouldn't be playing at all, to be honest.
It's a good shout. But Matty, what about these fans that say, look, stop having to go at the players, stop all this nonsense. We are in a transition period. It's going to take time. We don't need to be calling out anyone here. Just relax. I
had a minor Barney with a few fellas in front of me yesterday. Like, I was applauding something, it didn't quite go to plan. And he turned around and was like, if you're applauding that, then, and he kind of had a go. And I was like, well, I'd rather be positive than negative. And I think it is a transition season. I think that wage bill is an interesting piece because a lot of those players were all the players that were brought in the last season or last 2 seasons that will have probably demanded big money. Your Ashley Barneses, your Shane Duffys, Gunn will be on a decent whack. So I dare say that I agree with Killian's point that we should probably be maybe not expecting more, but being ambitious for a top 6 place. But when you're bringing in a new head coach with new staff and quite a few new transfers, that you are gonna have some bumps in the road along the way. So that's why I probably went for whatever it was, 8th or 10th or whatever in the what I would be happy with. Would I be deep down happy with it? I prefer top 6, but I think if we, like Jacob mentions, Farker's first season wasn't fantastic, but we were all bought into this project of a longer term vision and what might be to come in years to the seasons to follow. So I don't think I'm as I was after Oxford saying like I'm happy to write the season off, but I think I'd be all right with if you guarantee something next season and this season's a bit bumpier, then I think most people could probably, I dare say, could get on board with that.
Billy, you have the final say on this.
Yeah, I agree with Matty. It reminds me of Fark. Like when we went to Millwall under Fark and got torn apart 4-0. Just it's got very similar tendencies to it, but just like a few teething problems, he'll get in a few more of his players, and then that team strengthens and believes in what he wants to do.
Okay. All right. Let us know in the comments below. Cheers, all of you, for that. Whether you think it's right that we should still be labelling this as a transition season or not. Before we let you go, a couple of things to tidy up. FA Cup draw was made last week. We all asked you last week what you wanted at home. I don't think Brighton at home featured in anyone's wish list. Killian, how did you see this? How did you see this draw?
Yeah, I would have preferred an away fixture just to go somewhere different. But I'm happy with Premier League team coming to Carrow Road. It'll be a good test for us. I think we obviously had Palace in the Carabao Cup away, and it showed the difference in class. Be interesting to see how we perform at home against the Premier League team.
Absolutely, yeah. Billy, were you happy?
I'm happy for like the kids, for the lesser non-season ticket holders, because they hopefully they'll do kids for £1, so it just gets the younger generation a little bit more excited and into football for the future seasons.
Yeah, okay. Good shout. Thank you very much. And then finally, the best fans to have visited Carrow Road this year. We are asking this because, of course, it's Christmas and we're looking at a season of goodwill and spreading happiness around. So, Matty, who've been the best away fans this season?
I can't say Middlesbrough. I can't bring myself to say that. Do you know what actually kind of pains me? There's a few songs that they sing that annoy me, but in terms of consistent singing, they weren't bad. So the Blackburn home game, they were a bit. Been to a few home games, and I might have to say Middlesbrough actually. Yeah,
okay, Middlesbrough.
Can we put that out there though, just so it doesn't actually go out? Middlesbrough were decent away. The rubbish at home, but they're decent away.
Okay, Jacob.
It's down to Leeds or Sheffield United. I don't think the other teams that came here were that good, although I give it fair play to them for coming down here to trek from some of these places. Like, for example, was it Plymouth coming up? I mean, to lose 6-1, then they were in fine voice at the beginning, but obviously when you're losing 4-1 in the 50th minute, you're obviously not going to be that good. But I have to give it to Leeds. Definitely, they were good.
Okay, Billy.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go Middlesbrough, unfortunately, for Matty.
Okay. Killian?
I'm going to go with Sheffield United simply because I shared a broken down train with a load of them. And they ended up playing football in Thetford train station car park, and it felt like 200 was piled onto a bus to get to Norwich. So good atmosphere before.
All right, brilliant. Listen, thank you all so much for doing all of that with us. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. We love making this content for you. We're here for every single one of the remaining, whatever it is, way up now, 28 games left, whatever it is, of the season. Thank you so much for all your comments and love so far. We'll see you, of course, next week when we're reviewing the trip to Portsmouth, and hopefully that doesn't end up in the same way as QPR does, and of course our home game next weekend. See you then for all of that. Thanks for watching.